friends, and once again, it's time for Once More with Feelings. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Beth, and this is an emotional journey podcast where we go over films and we talk about how they make us feel.
This week, we are doing a movie that has had many names before it was officially given its true name. This is a 1990 movie that was directed by Ron Underwood. At first, it was known as Land Sharks, but because of the SNL skit, they said, we really can't do that. Then it was called Beneath Perfection, and
I kind of like that.
I kind of like that too, but the studio said, nah. So then they said, well, what about Dead Silence? And they were like, it's too serious. It kind of takes itself too seriously. So then they were like,
that is true.
Let's go with
good call on that one.
Tremors.
And they hit on a really good title, though I still think Beneath Perfection.
Beneath Perfection, yeah. Because
that's a good one.
Knowing that, that the town that the story takes place in is Perfection, Nevada, makes it even better.
And that kind of double entendre of it's beneath perfection.
Oh, yeah.
These two handymen, they're beneath perfection. They are.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely an interesting choice.
So
I'm sad that they didn't keep it.
It's a comedy horror film, which is kind of cool. Yeah, as you said, it's 1990, and it's in the small, isolated town of Perfection, Nevada.
Yes.
Which is, of course, fictional. It is a population of 14 people.
Really? Is that what it says on the thing? That it has a population of 14 people?
It says it on the sign.
Oh, I didn't
as
even
you're going
realize
in.
it. I didn't even realize.
So the story follows two handymen, Val and Earl, who discover the town is being terrorized by giant underground creatures. These creatures, known as, quote, graboids, sense vibrations on the surface and use them to hunt their prey. As the townspeople band together to survive, they must use their wits and resourcefulness to outsmart the graboids and escape the deadly threat.
Nice. Valentine, or Val, is played by Kevin Bacon, and Earl is played by Fred Ward.
Fred Ward, probably, for whatever reason, one of my favorite actors. I do not really know why. I could not pinpoint why Fred is one of my favorite actors. I think it's because of the adventures of Remo Williams. I know that sounds silly. Honestly, I want to see it again. I want to talk about it on this podcast.
Never saw it.
That's okay. That is perfectly valid.
Beth
most people have not.
With the amount of movies I've never seen. But a lot of movies, I think for me, it was, I like what I like, and my indifference towards other movies is kind of like my issue. I just have such an indifference towards seeing. And then also, my ADD, if you say, you got to see this, you have to watch this, you got to watch this, I'm like digging my heels in and probably I'm not going to watch it.
But
Hence,
what I think is the good thing about that is you get to see a lot more films firsthand during this podcast and
True.
get to talk about it. Whereas I will have seen many of them, not all. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were just introduced when Bree introduced.
That was the first one that we've done so far that I had not seen. So that was
right.
a new, that was
so
definitely
you've
interesting.
seen a good.
I've seen a lot of movies, but
you've
there's
seen
a
a good
lot.
more than you think.
Oh, no. It's just like, it's the classics that I've never seen, and people are like amazed that I've never seen it.
I think if you're calling The Adventures of Remo Williams a classic, then you have not seen the film.
I was thinking more like, I've never seen Casablanca, and I have no interest in Casablanca.
You may tell you a secret.
It's historically inaccurate.
I've never seen Casablanca.
So it really just does
Do
nothing.
you know why I haven't seen it? Because people told me I have to see it.
Exactly.
And I don't like being told what to do. Subconsciously, I will refuse to see it. Although I've seen the pieces that matter.
Why do you think it took me forever to watch Firefly?
Maltese Falcon? Never saw it.
I've never seen Maltese Falcon. Never seen Citizen Kane.
Okay, I've seen Citizen Kane, but no one told me to watch it.
Soylent Green. Never saw it.
I also did not see it.
Clockwork Orange. Never seen it.
I've seen it several times. Hated every moment of it. Not because it's a bad movie.
No, it's
but
just
because
the
it makes
themes.
because it makes me feel bad.
And it's supposed to make you feel bad. But
Well,
again,
no, it's doing its job. I'm not saying it's not.
and I know we are going to be...
We're really going off topic.
we are, but I know next... it's okay, because we need to do a little personal talking in between anyway. And
Let's just throw that about. Like, the technical thing is I'm adjusting the volume.
yes, because I'm always moving. So next month, we are going to have another guest, and that guest is going to do a movie by a director who I am not a huge fan of. And so it'll be an interesting... I'm excited about it. I actually am excited about it because, I'm excited about rewatching this movie that I think I've only seen one time all the way through, and even then I don't remember watching it all the way through.
Yeah.
I have read the book, but that was a long time ago too, and I only did that once. And I have seen the remake one time. So it will be interesting for me to watch a movie that I don't particularly enjoy. So it'll be, I think it'll be a fun give and take, much like watching a movie for the first time, where I don't have any pre-existing emotions or feelings behind it. I already have strong feelings about this one. So it'll be interesting.
Okay. That's valid.
Yep. Okay. So back to Tremors.
Yeah. We are we're not in, we're outside the town of Perfection. Mm-hmm. It is a barren landscape of Nevada-ish, but really it's California-ish.
Think San Joaquin Valley. Think West Texas.
Just think any Western you've ever seen that doesn't have any grass.
I mean, those are literally two deserts I lived in, so. Yeah.
So it is desert lands, and it's overlooking a cliff. And we're talking about Val standing there, looking around.
Yes.
Earl's asleep in the back of the truck. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to do shot by shot, but I want you to get the gist of this movie.
Yes.
It is all about the wide open desolation.
Oh,
There's
yes. And wanting to escape
Well, I
from
say
that.
desolation, but really it's isolation.
And really, that's kind of one of the themes is escape. So let me break this down a little bit, because I literally just thought this little factoid in my head here. Everybody in that movie, as far as we know, is escaping from. Think about it. You've got your the Reba McEntire, Michael Gross couple. You know, the Gummers. They are escaping. Think about it, they're preppers. They've got the shelter in the basement. They got all that wall of guns.
I'd say
so. Maybe they're trying to.
They're not really. I know they are counted as preppers, but really they're more survivalists.
They're survivalists. That's the word. I'm not very good with words today. But think about it. They obviously left something to go live in the middle of this desert, and even then, they're removed.
Well, they tell you.
Yeah.
It's the whole reason they moved here.
Yeah,
was the isolation.
The isolation. So they're escapers. What's her face? Charlotte Stewart's character and the little girl, Mindy. It's mom and a little girl in the middle of this desert, and she's doing her pottery, her artwork. But you don't
really get a backstory.
You don't get a backstory at all. But I'm making one.
Okay.
What are they going there for? Why,
you think she murdered her husband?
I wouldn't say that. I was thinking more of escaping a bad situation to go live this nice, quiet, peaceful life in the middle of nowhere that apparently has no schools, 2 children. And who the hell is the parent to that little shit? What's his name? Melvin?
Yeah, Melvin.
Oh, fuck him. Fuck
Melvin's
that kid.
a dick.
Fuck that kid.
But he is the atypical teenage boy.
He is, but you don't see parents or anything. So
which is the atypical teenage boy.
So they don't save everybody in this town, obviously. But yeah, it just seems like, and Val and Earl, they want to escape perfection.
I think when you're talking about a small town that is very small, we're talking 14 people. It's not a town. It's more of a township of some kind. It is not really about them leaving, but so much settling into the area that they've chosen. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them probably grew up here.
Yeah. For
one reason or another, but probably, and you get the sense that Val and Earl did not grow up here, that they've just traveled around the area, but this is where they've settled. Much like a valley, this is where all the things settle in.
Yeah.
And so it's like the taco smell at the bottom of a basement, Yeah, I know. I brought an office thing back.
Oh my God. And these guys are like jacks of all trade. They do a little bit of everything. They were doing trash collection.
Right.
They were doing sump pump. They were really badly fixing a fence.
What they're essentially doing is they're avoiding responsibility by working as hard as one possibly can to avoid responsibility.
Exactly.
And that is kind of it is that slacker way, kind of. Mm-hmm. Like you work really hard not to do things, and they put in the work, but they're really working their ass off not to do things.
Yeah.
And when I saw this film, it was in the 90s. It was probably in the theaters. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I did not see it in the theaters, but it was definitely in the 90s.
It would have been in California, and which is funny because that place looks like this place because it is this place.
I think I saw it when we moved back to New Jersey.
Yeah. So when I saw it, I was in my 20s.
Uh-huh.
Early 20s. I identified with Val and Earl in their lack of motivation to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I might have seen it before then, because 1990? Yeah, because I didn't move to California until 93, 4. Yeah, I probably saw it at my mom's house.
No idea.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to, I can't picture watching it. Usually like when we talk about a movie, I can picture the location in my head. I'm like, nah, I can't picture where this was. I just know I've seen it.
So their entire premise for the handyman, Val and Earl, is that they don't want to be here. They're tired of doing the thing that they're doing, but they're really comfortable doing the thing that they're doing, so they tend to stick around.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that they have told the people in this town over and over again they're leaving.
Yep.
And yet they never actually do.
Gonna go to Bixby. Going to Bixby.
Because they've settled in.
They had.
Everything's settled into this valley. Everybody has.
And so in one of their little odd jobs that they do, it's, like I said, the sump pump and cleaning out sewer and septic tanks. And they're bitching at each other the whole entire time. And that little shit Melvin is also giving them shit while they're standing there. And literal shit comes out of the tubing and as they're trying to pump and sprays them. And I think that was the final
motivation.
Yeah, to get the hell out of perfection. These
guys, they've obviously told themselves over and over again they're going to leave. And they keep finding these motivations. And they talk to each other about their motivations. And Val talks about the ideal girl. Because remember, when they're heading back into town, they stop and they find the seismologist.
Yes.
Very specific avenue of scientific study.
Very.
The seismologist is dealing with her seismographs, which makes sense because that's she's the one thing she's dealing with.
Yeah.
But he drives in a frenzy. Val is driving. He drives in a frenzy towards this place because he knows it's supposed to be a girl.
Yes.
He has this ideal.
The legs that go all the way up.
All the way up. Blonde hair. Blue, I don't know. I don't remember.
He went through this
a lot of
thing.
misogynistic tropes. And he's very excited. He's got photos all on his visor of girls that I think probably are not the same girl, but they reflect similar. His ideal.
Yeah.
So he's driving up there saying that this is what she's going to look like. And when he gets there, she looks nothing like those things.
She had blue eyes.
She's pretty.
She's very pretty.
And she is obviously not his type. She has zinc oxide on her nose to protect from the sun. She's wearing a bucket hat?
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's the atypical nerdy scientist kind of thing going. Mm-hmm. He is disappointed, and he doesn't want to have any kind of, interaction with her. But Earl, who I have to admit, when Earl is talking to other people, he is in a lot of ways very smooth.
Oh, definitely.
He is very kind to her. He's very nice to her. He is kind of joking, he's making fun of Val in a way, but really he actually treats her with respect and dignity and doesn't view her as a piece of meat, which I think is pretty good for Earl.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably the ideal.
So, how did you feel the first time you watched this movie?
I loved this movie. It is probably okay. So the first monster horror I ever saw that really took a hold, that made me, And I'm not talking like, Frankenstein, because that's, those are supernatural monster. They have a different category in my head. But if we're talking about monster horror, The Thing, okay, because the dog turns into the alien is the dog, and it just becomes like it's about the monster and not about the social impact.
Yeah.
So when I watched it, I was horrified, just beyond horrified the whole time I watched it. It was something I had nightmares about, but I loved it. Tremors was fun. It's the difference between a slasher horror and Friday the 13th or something like that. It was fun. I really loved this movie because it was simple, but it had a lot of themes to it, and it was about them. It wasn't about them being against each other. They argued, but ultimately it was about them overcoming.
It was that survival.
Monster.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about a monster, and they were uniting to fight this monster. I get that.
Yeah, and I just really enjoyed it. I was excited about it when I saw the previews. That's where they got us back in the 90s and the 80s, was they get you at the previews.
Oh yeah.
Before the movie that you're watching. Now you're seeing the previews, but you've already seen them on YouTube probably a couple hundred times.
Oh, yeah.
If you're paying any attention at all, you've seen the previews on TV.
You didn't see the monster. You didn't see the graboids in the previews.
No, I don't remember if you saw it.
I do remember them showing like the camera angle from the ground as
Right.
it's like traveling on the ground and coming up at people. That kind of fisheye lens almost.
I don't know if any of that was groundbreaking, but it certainly was
wasn't
exciting.
Yeah. I am the first person to tell you this. I do not like scary movies. And when I say I don't like a scary movie, I don't like murder movies like with like slasher, and I don't like just for the sake of the bloody gore and
gratuitous.
Horrifying. When you get to like Hostel and Saw, those things don't do anything for me. They just nauseate me. So I really have no interest in it. I mean, probably should break out of my comfort zone, and we should probably review one of them at some point.
We got to watch the first Saw, because I think you'll get a kick out of the people that are in it.
Well, I mean, I know Carrie Ellis is
I know.
and I love him.
You get to watch them do things. Okay.
But my stuff like this, like, I mean, I love the Conjuring movies, even though I know that they're not.
They got good jump scares.
Yeah, and I like ghosty movies, but I don't like ghost movies that again are just there to destroy. And I can't say I'm squeamish about the blood or anything like that. But a movie like this, where normally I would have been like, I don't want to watch that. Ew. It caught my attention, and it was definitely, for me, I was curious, I was anxious, and I was also very skeptical because I knew in my head it was going to be a cheese factory.
Yeah, but it
really isn't.
It's the Friday Night Lights of monster horror. It's all lights and action and fun.
And I feel like it's held up.
And you got cheerleaders, and you got, it's got all the bells and whistles, and you feel good about watching it. There's never a moment where you're like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
Oh yeah. You're not bored with it.
It is a fun horror movie, and it's not horror. It's a fun monster
comedy.
Movie.
Yeah.
This is like watching, what is it with the kids?
Oh shit, we were talking about that the other day too.
Yeah, where Wolfman has nards.
Boogers. I can't think of the name of that movie, but I loved that movie. Yeah, all the kids. Monster Squad. I loved it.
It's a fun little movie, and this is a fun little movie.
Exactly.
In a different way. It is a grown-ups version of a fun little movie. And I was just super excited about it. And I didn't lose that excitement watching the movie. I was like, you leave the movie being excited because Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, they drive this movie.
Really?
Fred being he's all cantankerous and everything, but he's not mean to everyone. And Val, who is mean to everyone in a way, but he's young and exciting,
He is.
and he's pretty and.
Well, and I was saying to you before that I remember, again, 1990 when this came out. I'm assuming I saw it maybe a year or two later. I was 16 to 18 years old. So I was not thinking Fred Ward was a cute man. But now, as a grown-ass woman, I'm looking at that man going, he handsome.
Oh,
he's handsome.
Definitely.
I didn't appreciate those lines in that.
I always thought he was handsome, but yeah, I have an old soul.
Yeah, but I was also like 14 years old and madly in love with Patrick Stewart. So I have not always a judge of good character there.
Patrick Stewart was a
no, but I
fine
mean
man.
like of being attracted to older men. I'm not going to judge anybody there. So what's really funny is, not funny, it's actually kind of sad, is Kevin Bacon didn't want to do this movie. He did it out of desperation because he was coming down from the high of, he had already done Footloose, and he wasn't, it was like his career had kind of, not circling the drain, but it had stalled a little bit. Him and Kira Sedgwick had been married for 2 years, and she was pregnant with their first child. And he actually said that he got down on his hands and knees and he was like crying at her going, I am in a movie about a killer worm. I mean, he was really upset that he did this movie. So a lot of the movie, he's depressed. He didn't start coming out of it until like the end of filming. But he was very depressed during the movie. But he also said in an interview that he does not normally like to watch his own movies. But this movie, he has grown to love so much that he has watched it dozens of times and he's watched it over and over again.
That is, I understand that. Mm-hmm. I cannot listen to our podcast, but I have recently,
I can't listen to our podcast.
In the last couple of episodes, I have, because I edit them.
Yeah.
I have re-listened to them after they're completed, after they're done, and I have really enjoyed listening to our talks.
Okay, cool.
It's made it hard because of the content, because of the way I feel.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about my voice now.
Yeah.
Which, I have a dysphoria about. But the thing that I found was, I think Kevin Bacon's broodiness comes out in those moments during the film where he's saying things like, fuck you, and stuff like that. I got a fuck in there. So, and when he's doing stuff like that, mm-hmm. you really get the sense that there's some angst there of some kind mm-hmm. that is different from the Val and Earl thing where they're just kind of buddy. There is some underlying currents there.
Yeah, you can the scene when in the beginning when they are when they're cleaning up the trash and he's sitting down and Earl comes over and he pulls out the beer. He's like, you want a cocktail? And he pulls it out of the toilet. You can see in his eyes that, he's acting, but you can see that there is a sadness underlying. So it does come through. And in that desolate, we got to get out of here. We have to do something.
I think it really informed his character.
And I wasn't going to even bring this little tidbit up until later on, but you did drop an F-bomb. Originally, this movie was going to be rated NC-17 because there were over 20 F-bombs dropped. They cut all of them but 2, and that's why you get mother humpers and what the shit. Because all of that was F words, and they had to go back and redub them.
Yeah, I think today that would have gone through with
they wouldn't
no
have cared.
problem. It was a product of the time.
Oh, definitely. Mother humper? I mean, even that was like, ew.
I kind of thought that was funny, but it does PG it up.
Oh, PG. Oh, yeah.
They meet the seismologist student, okay, who is Rhonda in the film. Finn Carter, I don't know much about her. I'm not sure she had any kind of
either,
acting
and I didn't
outside of
look
this.
that up since we're not doing movies anymore. I didn't really think about looking her up.
I'm just, I don't know what she's done before, after that, mm-hmm. and I don't really care. She did Excited Student very well, mm-hmm. and that's all I really care about.
Oh yeah.
You could tell that in this area, she got to be by herself, which is unusual, and she got to, do her work and not really be bothered. Even the 2 men mm-hmm. who are handymen, who are around all the time, they weren't there to pester her or to harass her.
Everyone was doing their own thing.
Yeah, they were just doing their own thing, which is kind of nice.
Yes. And I think, and going back to like, him going in with this expectation of the quote unquote perfect woman and, oh my God, it's a lady, so I'm going to go speed over there. It was like very cartoonish at that moment. But the fact that, he didn't pursue it, he didn't pester her. Whenever they would meet up, it was very amicable. They had conversations that, about the situation, but it was not about hooking up in any way, shape, or form. And that was, that's good. That was a really
For
nice,
the 90s,
that was freaking
awesome.
fantastic. They weren't trying to get in each other's pants.
Well, the movie really aims towards the graboids. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're calling them. They're really a really 80s
because I want to call them sandworms, but no, they're graboids.
You don't want to get sued.
No.
So when they're doing the septic removal and they're arguing and it explodes all over them, their frustration has hit an all-time high. Mm-hmm. They are done with this crap. They pack
literally.
They pack. They actually pay attention in this film. Mm-hmm. I love that they pay attention because when Kevin Bacon comes out of they cut away.
Yeah.
And when he comes out of the trailer, he had just gotten a shower.
Oh, yeah, his hair was wet, and he's carrying a suitcase.
They're paying attention to detail.
The vacuum cleaner. Well, why do we need that? Well, for parts. I like it.
But they're paying attention to the details of things. Like, he would have gotten a shower, and they didn't waste time for them to dry off. He was still wet. They're getting out.
Yeah.
And I love those little details in this movie. I don't know, who was it that directed it?
Ron Underwood.
They paid attention. That director did his job. Mm-hmm. And I think that is just excellent. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get the feeling of movement because of these things. The septic system backing, hitting them.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's wet from a shower. There's movement there.
Oh, yeah. Even with it being a cutaway, you see the progression of time without it being, oh, my God. It makes sense.
And there's an urgency that you feel from it in Val and Earl getting out of this place.
Oh, yeah.
So they drive off. Mm-hmm. And they obviously, the very first thing they do is they see, what's his name?
Well, there's road workers they pass, because they pass these road workers a couple times. But...
No, the first one is Edgar.
Oh, Edgar, yes. I thought they saw the road workers first. But
Edgar's up on a utility pole, and he's been known to drink a lot and get paranoid.
The actor who plays Edgar, his real name is Sunshine Jones.
They should have gone with that.
I know, I love
That's
his
a better
name.
character name, honestly.
He's a gruff old man with a beard, and his name is Sunshine.
Well, probably not anymore.
Well, no, he's long gone. Yeah. But yes, it's still...
But Edgar is dead on the utility pole.
Yes.
So...
And they don't... Yeah, they're like, come on down, Edgar. And then they're like, don't make me come up there. And then they get up there, and he's like, shit. And they take him back to town.
It's important to know the place they're trying to get to is Bixby.
Yes, Bixby.
Bixby is a larger town.
Also, fake. Fictional.
Right. Fictional, but it is Bixby, Nevada, which is supposed to be a larger town. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily a city that I know of.
No. They don't
But
really
it's bigger than 14 people, and they're looking to change their lives.
Yes. They want to be.
But they can't get out of town because now they have to go back and take Earl.
Yeah.
And then they take Earl, explain that he died, that no one knows why.
Well,
exposure, that's all
Jim
they know.
said exposure, dehydration is what
right.
Dr.
No,
Jim
I'm saying
said.
They don't know why he was up there.
Oh, yeah. Why was he up there?
So the doctor, this is foreshadowing because the doctor and his wife are building a house in the middle of nowhere in near perfection.
Yes.
And these are two older people. Mm-hmm. They look very aged. They're older.
Yeah.
Just so old.
The actor who plays Dr. Jim, he is 48 when this was filmed, and his wife was 38. They look ancient.
They look like they're in their 70s.
I wouldn't say 70s. I was going to say definitely 60s. But they are, let's go, they're weather worn.
It is disappointing to me that people look as old as they do when they're not that old.
Yeah.
And I am older than them.
I get very upset when I look at the ages of the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
'Cause
I don't understand.
I don't understand.
Maybe we have better colorists.
Maybe. I mean, maybe we just don't do the helmet hair. I think the helmet hair has a lot to do with it.
Probably. So they are building a house. That is where Val and Earl find them and get his pronouncement that probably died from dehydration.
Yes.
He didn't drink.
Yes.
Which is funny because he was a drunk.
Yes.
Little stick it to the drunk, I guess. That's just mean.
So while they're doing that, they flash over to a farm.
Right.
And I forget what the farmer's name was. I didn't write that down.
His name is Farmer.
Farmer.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm sure he had a name.
Like
I
Ron
think they
or
said
something
a
like
name.
that. Yeah, I don't remember.
He is head under hat.
Head under hat. And he has sheeps. Lots of sheeps. Cute little black face sheeps. I love them when they've got their little black face.
Yeah, not ranging anywhere. They're just in a
they're in a pen.
It's very, very weird.
Very weird. It was like, the animal wranglers were like, hey, we don't want to have to catch all these sheep, so let's keep them in this pen.
So he dies.
He dies because he
gets sucked under.
Yeah. And they flash back to the boys leaving, perfection again, finding the pen full of dead sheep. And when they go looking for the farmer, they find his face.
They find his hat.
his hat. And they pick up his hat and there's his face.
Because he's been sucked under and all that's left is his head with his face looking up screaming.
Yes. So
not actually screaming, but
in the grip,
the mortis.
The mortis, that's it.
Look of screaming. Yes.
They run back to town.
Right.
And
again.
and this is their second time going past the road worker guys. And they're like, there's a murderer out there.
There's a serial
stealing
killer.
heads and
cutting off heads. You got to get out.
And they're like, yeah, whatever. And then the other guy who's not using the jackhammer, he goes and gets a giant crowbar, that's going to help him. And the guy with the jackhammer, all of a sudden, he strikes blood. Because he's jackhammering, and you expect to see some oil,
and you get kind of a Jaws moment where the jackhammer is standing up straight in the ground, and it runs away.
Yes, and then he gets caught in the wires,
the hose,
hose, and then it just drags his ass off.
Yeah, it drags one of the workers up onto the hill there, and the other guy's following, he's running after him.
Yeah.
And the rocks fall onto him, killing him.
Yes. And
it is very gory.
It is very gory.
But it's still life gory. So it's like you don't see the gore in action. You see the gore as if once it's done, this is how it looks.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of, I think every episode I have to make a Supernatural reference, but it does. It reminds me of the early seasons of Supernatural with they'd shoot a gun and you'd see splat, And,
yeah, but that's splat in action. Whereas here, you really only see
it in action.
Sitting.
Well, I mean,
you see the monster's blood
in action,
in movement, but everybody else's blood, everybody else's death is static.
So my question is, when the jackhammer went in the ground. And it struck, I'm assuming it struck one of the graboids, which is what the blood was. Right. Why is it that they don't bleed red any other time?
Because that is the color they chose at the time. And then they realized that if they did red everywhere, it would probably get everywhere and be really hard to clean up. I don't know. I have no idea. They went really mucusy afterwards.
Yeah, and very orange.
I don't really know why. Except maybe the mass amount of volume diluted the red.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was I thought it was just curiosity. I didn't even think about that until now.
But yes, it is very red, much like a human. Mm-hmm. A little bit brighter. Yeah. Arterial blood, bright.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene happens. That is.
Yeah, and that blocks them from ever being able to go take the main road.
Well, the landslide takes down that road.
And then, and so nobody can get in or out. The mountains kind of block cell service or telephone service, because they didn't say cell service, right? They said just telephone.
Well, see, Val and Earl go back.
Yes.
In a panic to perfection.
Yes.
And they're talking to the townspeople, all 5.
Yes.
You never see 14 people.
No, I mean, let's see. There's Mr. Keaton. There's Reba McEntire. There's little shitface Melvin. There's Miss Beatty and her daughter. There is Mr. Walter. There is Miguel, Val.
Oh, so you do
Earl.
have 14. That's it.
Am I missing somebody?
No, I think that was it.
So there are 9 people that we actually see in this movie.
Okay, so yeah, there's not, I mean, you don't see all 14 people.
You do
have
not.
to assume some people just die. Oh, mate, the dead people.
The dead people. Oh,
doctor,
wait a minute. So the doctor and his wife,
the wife.
the farmer, and the old man. That's 14 people. Motherfucker, that's it.
They did it.
They did 14 people. They
Got the pot.
So who the hell are the parents to Melvin?
There are no parents. So anyway, we have 14 people, and many of them, not many, several of them are dead. Val and Earl book it back to perfection, and they go to the store, which is...
Kind of like a general store. But
what's the name of it?
I don't know the name of it, but Mr. Chang owns it.
Well, that's the name of it.
Oh, Chang's?
It's, what's his first name?
Walter.
Walter Chang's store, grocery, or something
Okay.
like that. I forget exactly, but it's his store. It's the name. His name is on there. So everyone's discussing, well, what do we do and how do we, deal with this? Mm-hmm. And at the moment, it's not including the our 2 preppers.
Yeah.
They haven't come into the store yet. They're talking about what to do.
Yes.
They're worried, that there's a serial killer out there. They don't know what to do with that. And they're like, you got to go to Bixby. They're going to leave Perfection again, and they're going to drive back down that road. So when they drive back, they see the place where the landslide has happened. Mm-hmm. And then they see pieces of the dead guy.
Yes.
The one dead guy.
The one dead guy.
And they're like, oh no, more murders. And they back up, and when Val backs up, he runs into the ground, the raised area near the road.
Yes.
And he stalls out, so he has to restart his truck. He's like, I didn't stall out,
Yeah.
And they take off, and he has to really give it gas to do so.
Yeah.
Well, when they get back to the store, they're telling them there's been more murders, and that's when our preppers show up.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Alex,
or maybe the preppers are already there.
Yeah, I think they're already there. That would be Alex P. Keaton's dad, Michael Gross, and Reba McEntire.
Right. Mr. Family Ties himself, Stephen Keaton, is now a prepper.
Yes.
He is a 2A gun-toting crazy.
And he did start filming this movie the day after they stopped filming the final episode of Family Ties.
Which is crazy, right?
Is
The man never
crazy.
stopped working.
No.
And he still hasn't. There's so many Tremors.
Oh, I know. And he's in almost every one of them, I think.
He's in every one that I know
that's
of.
That's awesome.
There's like 7, 8
He's like
Tremors?
in his 70s now. Go Michael Keaton. No, Michael Keaton. Go
Michael Keaton as well.
No, go Michael Gross. Sorry.
So,
Alex P. Keaton. That's what.
yeah, but Michael Keaton as well.
I melded his names.
So they're discussing you've got to get to Bixby. There's no other way. We're going to take the horses. How about we do that?
Yes.
So they go outside, and when they go outside, that's when they discover the graboid arm or the tongue, but they don't know that.
They don't know that.
They think it's just a big snake.
Yes. This is before we know what they're called. So Walter offers to buy it for $5, and Earl and Val end up haggling with him up to $15. And he wants to take pictures of it, make postcards. He wants to do the whole thing. This is going to be a tourist trap thingy. And you're like, how many tourists come through Perfection?
But you see, like, the people around them are giving them, like, even the lady, she says, are you kidding me right now? Because there are things happening. People have died, and these people are arguing about the price of something that was on the back of their truck.
Yes.
And they're looking to make money off of this.
Yes.
And not just Val and Earl, but we're talking about Chang, who is also very much looking to make a profit from these things.
Yeah, and you're like, there are as far as we know at this moment, 3 people dead.
But that's what undercuts the horror.
Yes.
So all these deaths and stuff are completely undercut by the blasé kind of tone of them haggling over the snake.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of like back in the day and in historical America, in which we would take horrors or death and put them as a roadside attraction or a traveling attraction.
Oh, yeah.
Like you had like the famous gunslingers in caskets. So they would put these gunslingers or people that have died that are famous, they would put them in coffins and they would display them in town center, or they would display them in front of the barber shop or wherever, whoever owned the bodies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at P.T. Barnum. He took a monkey and a fish and called it a mermaid. And he sewed their bodies together, their dead bodies together. So, I mean, yeah, sideshow or roadside attractions have been a part of our Americana history, as horrific as it is. So this is kind of the same thing. Chang wanted he was probably going to have that thing taxidermied and put in on a plaque and have it, behind glass and have people come and look at it. It was trying to cause an attraction, really.
And it is part of that undercutting of the horror, but it also brings about its own version of horror.
Yeah.
Because you're ignoring these deaths for the most part. Not that you're a bad person.
No.
Not saying that they're bad people, but they really do kind of disregard the deaths once they're done.
Yeah.
They acknowledge them at least, but they do ignore them. And what you get from a lot of that, or what I get from a lot of that, is that price of life is only worth something while they're living.
Yeah.
And that is its own kind of like sickening feeling that you get when you're watching these things, as you realize that the bodies lose all meaning once they're gone.
Yeah. That's a thing I often have an issue with like TV shows and movies, and like when they forget, especially like in TV shows, where the continuity of characters that once mattered and now they're not even like a thought.
Never
and
mentioned.
Damn well in real life. I mean, I had a friend die in 2007 and I still talk about her all the time. You don't not mention somebody. They were a part of your life. So it always bothers me in TV shows.
It's the Brandanowitz effect.
Yes. Yes, he doesn't exist anymore once he's fired. Not fired, he leaves. But once he's gone, you don't mention him again. I mean, they mentioned him, in like the first couple episodes?
We're talking about Parks and
Rec. And yeah,
Mark Brandanowitz.
Mark Brandanowitz.
That's how I remember his name. But so, it is. Once they're gone, they don't really get mentioned again.
No, and it's very frustrating for me as somebody who clings to those names and those people.
More importantly than being mentioned, they don't have the impact anymore.
Yeah.
Like, once the monster becomes known,
we don't think about those bodies. And there's now,
the characters don't think about those bodies
No.
anymore. They're only, and true to form, you're interested in your survival.
Mm-hmm.
But surely out of these 14 people, they were friends with each other, some of them.
Yeah.
And wouldn't they be mourning them? Wouldn't they be saying, we have to try to find out if they're okay?
Or
the doctor and the wife who die. In a very interesting way, because I think it was like a lot like Cujo, okay?
Yeah.
And, in Cujo, the woman's trapped in the car by the dog. The dog is running around the car, trying to get in, trying to get her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing I remember about that movie. The thing I remember the most.
Yeah.
And I'm probably remembering it imperfectly.
It's been a while.
The thing that always caught me in Tremors, there's 2 parts of Tremors that always make me think about it. One is Stampede, that's yelled at the first. Mm-hmm. That's always in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the car lights as it's being buried,
and just
going up, but when they're uncovering it and the lights are shining, I'm like, that is
the best battery ever.
I know that criticism, but what I'm talking about is the feeling of spookiness that you get, that the lights are on.
Oh, God.
And that she died down there. You don't know how she died.
And you don't know. She might still be alive under there, and they don't even try to dig her ass out.
Right. But she could have suffocated. Mm-hmm. She could have still been alive. She could have been eaten. But you don't know any of that.
No.
All you know is that the car is underneath the thing, and all they did was wipe away the lights, which were on, which may tell you that she's still alive because she's trying to get any attention she can.
And the only reason why they even notice it is because the music is playing.
Right. So we have the husband dies, and they do these really cool effects, and a lot of good practical effects in this for the 90s. Very good.
Oh, yeah.
It's the graboid swallowed the
Generator.
The generator, yeah. So thank you. Swallowed the generator, and
It's a very small generator.
Right.
Because I'm thinking of ours, and
it's
huge. Massive.
Yeah. But this is a smaller generator, and the man goes to find it
because it had the lights in the RV went out. And
yeah, and
so
he's
apparently they've had a history.
Right, and he's trying to figure out whether or not it's gone. Something's bad, and he's got to fix it. But it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's just not there anymore, and you could tell it's been sucked under the earth.
The extension is still
the cord is obviously not attached.
Yeah.
So he pulls that out of the hole, and it's not attached. The generator comes shooting out of the ground further away, mm-hmm. which is the graboid spitting it out.
Yes, because they don't like things that are not people.
I guess it wanted to eat it because it was making noise.
I mean, it ate the sheep, but it doesn't like inanimate objects.
Right. Nothing non-fleshy, I guess.
Yes.
So they're walking back, and he gets sucked under and dies in a fairly horrible manner, where he's eaten a little by little.
Yeah.
And the woman puts a board across him, which is, I thought, a really good idea.
Yeah.
That is what you do when someone's getting sucked under. You give them something to hold themselves up with to give you time.
Yeah. She
slides the board underneath, but it does break, and that tells you the power of the creature.
Yeah,
and it really gives you a sense of like this is something really pulling down.
And it kind of gives you like that feeling of quicksand, which once again the world had me thinking I was going to encounter quicksand a lot more in my adult life than I have ever encountered quicksand.
Turns out the fear is more normal than the actual thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a fear about being underground anyway. So I love, as a kid, to go to the caverns. We went to Crystal Caverns when I was a kid, and Lost River Caverns, something like that. My dad would take us all the time, and I loved it. But those are tours. Those have lights. You've got groups of people. I don't have a fear. Maybe, I don't know, as an adult I might have a problem with it, but as a kid I didn't have a problem with it. But I have nightmares about being underground and about being pulled underground, or going into, like, I have to go through something that's underground and I have to go head first and the tunnel is just as wide enough for me. Fucks me up. I mean, I will wake up like, no, type of breathing. I mean, it fucks me up.
I think it's a primal fear that most people tend to have in some way. Even if they're a spelunker, they probably have that fear.
I have a hard time watching spelunkers because I keep thinking it's going to fall on them.
But I think a lot of what it's replicating, what Tremors is replicating in these types of instances, is that kind of the unknown depths. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're looking at an ocean, you don't know what's underneath it. Yeah. You're seeing the top, and that's all you're seeing. And even if you're diving, you can only see so far. Mm-hmm. So you have that sense of the unknown is always scary to humans.
Yes.
And when you're walking on the ground, you think, this is terra firma. I am stepping on it, therefore it's solid. There's nothing underneath. But people get sucked into things all the time. Mm-hmm. We have sinkholes that appear, caverns that explode because of gas buildup. There are a lot of things that can cause that.
There's the ceruleans who live at the center of the earth.
Sure.
I mean, they were here in the beginning.
But when we're talking about an active monster pulling someone under, there becomes this, even in this fun movie, you get a sense of, like, especially in the 90s when it first came out, the primal fear that it could engender.
And see, and those are the types of scary that I appreciate. You're giving me my personal fears in a way that is not going to overwhelm me into a panic attack, but it's going to make me uncomfortable.
It's bite-sized.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm a wimp, okay?
It's graboid bite-sized.
Exactly.
Little tentacle bite-sized.
Ew. Nibbles.
What you notice, it didn't have teeth. It had the tentacles, which do all the eating.
The eating for it.
The tearing
yeah.
off of the chunks.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the way in which they manipulated the tentacles, really well done for the 90s.
It really was.
These are not CGI effects. These are practical effects.
And they have an elephant trunk-esque about them where
Right.
they, when they feel around that kind of like, it's not 100% controlled. Now, an elephant does have that control, but there's still a kind of a floppiness, and they do have that floppiness. And speaking of floppiness, originally they wanted the design to have like a harder shell, and then when it comes out of the earth, that it would retract and you'd see the big slimy worm, but the crew was making fun of how phallic it looked and much like a foreskin. So that's why they went with the multiple tentacles in the mouth of the creature, because that was less phallic.
I think that they made a good decision there.
Oh, I definitely.
I think they made a good decision in several ways. One, it didn't look as comical and penis-shaped.
Yes.
But
you
also...
had like 5 or 6 penises flopping at you.
But also I think that the way they have it with the horned, they're all horned in some way. They look more menacing than they are, and you really get the sense that they're tearing off things.
And when you see them with their heads closed and the tentacles retracted, you can imagine that thing barreling through the I don't want to say loose, but the Earth's crust.
Despite the complete lack of digging apparatus.
Yeah, but they've got that hardened, like, honestly, I would not mind, like, I could see having a graboid skull mounted somewhere. They've got very interesting
that'd be cool.
skulls. They're just very, almost Art Deco.
Well, I think it's because you got kind of a mandible shape to them.
Yeah.
Almost a tusked, like you got tusks on either side, plus it completes itself. It's a very well-designed head, I think. I think they put a lot of thought into what they were doing.
What can go through hard-packed soil.
But you get a sense of forbidding, that like fear of what might be underneath, and in much the way you would an ocean. When these people disappear, they panic.
Yes.
And the wife panics when the doctor disappears, and she jumps into the car, and then that's where we find, like, later on, Val and Earl have gone to the doctor and the wife to find out if they're okay.
Yeah. Because they were on the outskirts.
Right. And later on, Val's going to point to the map of the linear flow of these creatures coming towards them.
Yes.
And it's the inverse. The doctors were further out.
Yes.
Yet they're closer to the town somehow. I don't know. I was very confused by the placement.
That is kind of like, maybe they were... if you go I don't know where they were placed on the map. So like maybe they were further
very linearly. They were like one right after the other. Yeah, so like
if the road went east west, maybe they were more like either north or south, but they were still going towards.
I don't know. It seemed very like they really had to ham fist that map into this to make it seem like we're in danger. But
yes.
So Val and Earl try many times to get out, and therein lies a frustration in and of itself.
Oh, yes.
As you feel stuck.
Oh, yeah.
You're already settled into this valley. Now you're stuck in this valley. You can't ever get the hell out. You keep trying to go. That is that is one of my personal fears, is not being able to get away from a task, because I don't have OCD or anything like that, but I have, part of my, I don't know if it's my autistic brain or my attention deficit, but if I start a task, I see something else close by.
That's ADD.
It also has to be attended to as well. And then something else has to be attended to. It is a pteroductin of a turducken of tasks that I have to do in order to get the first task done. And I get endlessly frustrated. And that's how I feel when I'm watching Val and Earl try to get the hell out of this town. And I want to help them get out of this town.
Oh, yeah.
I am on edge. Even though it's comical in a lot of ways, I am just like internally on edge because they can't seem to get out of this damn town. And I just want them to go. Just drive over the rocks. Just go.
Yeah, and they don't.
No.
No. But I think at that point their truck becomes incapacitated, right?
No, they decide to
yet.
take the horses.
Oh yeah, they took the
because
horses.
they got to go overland and not on road. That's after the landslide.
Okay, and then so the
Reba McEntire gives them a bigger rifle.
yes, and still not the biggest rifle we will see in this movie.
No,
but a bigger one.
but well, it is the biggest. Technically, a rifle. Yeah, sure. I guess it is a rifle.
mean-
An elephant gun is a rifle.
Okay.
It's a very large bore rifle. More like akin to a shotgun in design. But
I mean,
yes.
you know my feelings about guns. I am not a huge fan. I know that they've got an amazing purpose in this world, and but I have no. They just do nothing for me. I'd rather pick up a sword or a staff and beat the shit out
It's
of
like
somebody.
it's
my personal. If I have a weapon of choice,
It's like a very specific type of shotgun.
Yeah.
That fires slugs. It is an elephant gun. It is designed for probably the most horrible use in mankind to kill elephants.
Aesthetically,
Or large animal like rhinoceros, stuff like that. But all of that's horrifying.
well, aesthetically speaking, though, that's a sexy gun. I'm sorry. I just like that. I'm like, it's silver. I just liked how it looked.
Very
Not
phallic.
for its, I wasn't thinking about that. I'm just thinking about how I love silver. So it was a pewterish kind of,
The gun itself is
it's
very silver.
yeah.
It's very stylized. It's very smooth.
It is. It's a nice
It's
looking.
a double barrel elephant gun.
Yeah. It's just, I enjoyed it.
It
It was just nice.
It's a breaking one in
Yeah.
which the barrel and the receiver break, and then you put the shells
I
in.
know nothing about guns. I mean, the character that we play in Smoke and Sigils, I mean, that I play, she's got derringers, and even then, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing with that.
Tiny little guns.
Tiny little guns.
So they're on horseback.
Yes.
And they're riding, and they're trying to get to Bixby. This is all an effort to get to help of some kind.
Yes.
And they are following a fence row. And you can see that behind them, you get a little bit of a preview of what's about to happen, is this culvert. This it's not just a dirt culvert. It is a reinforced concrete culvert
Yes.
that bisects that area for whatever reason.
You'd see that in California.
Yeah, I would assume it's for
The drainage,
irrigation,
yeah.
but I don't know why this would be here in this particular area.
Yeah, I don't know much about how much
I don't
rain
see
they get in
farm-
Nevada.
I didn't see any farmland in this area.
Yeah, I
Nothing
mean, again,
like
it would
that?
be like maybe for like if they have flooding.
Storms? Yeah, maybe.
Yes,
I don't know.
Storm surge.
But
maybe.
anyway, they're traveling in front of it, so it's like it's behind them. Somehow they got to cross it, or they just came around it, and they're riding. And as they're riding, one of the horses gets taken out by a graboid. So it's Remo Williams' horse,
Yes.
Earl's horse, and at the same time, both horses are spooked by the scent, and they mention this many times.
Yes.
Is that the smell is really bad.
Yeah, I wish they would explain it beyond that because
I
now I
actually-
want to know what it's.
I actually like the generalization of it just smelling bad because, first of all, in horror movies, you rarely get a smell issue.
That's true.
They rarely mention smell. I think in this movie, the attention that's paid to these little details really fleshes out like the world itself. It is a comedy, but it is a well thought out
Very.
comedy. And I really like the fact that when they put that smell in there, it makes the character of the graboid more alive.
So, like, when the doctor says, what is that smell?
Right.
My thought is, first, I'm thinking, okay, well, this thing eats a lot of things. So maybe it smells like rotting flesh.
Sulfur.
But if it smelled like rotting flesh, the doctor would recognize that as what that smells like. Same thing as if it smelled like pus or if it smelled like, I don't know. So that's why I kept going, well, what does it smell like? Does it smell like skunk ass? I mean,
Yeah, but you're left to interpret that.
Oh yeah, but you know me, I like a little hint every
Yeah,
once
but
in a while.
no one's giving that hint.
No,
It just
nobody,
doesn't
not
happen
at
in the
all.
movie at all.
Yeah.
But they talk about how bad it smells. And
Yes.
I think that actually jives with real life. If you're out and 100 people encounter a smell, they're not going to talk about the individualistic symptoms of the smell. They're going to talk about it smells bad.
Yeah.
And probably no one will mention it's a skunk.
Probably not. I mean, it can say like, oh, well, to me, I don't know, because I would be like, oh God, that smells like rotten eggs or whatever, because I would be like,
Because
what does that smell?
You
Because
want to be
that's how I
very specific.
am.
But I'm saying that I get that.
I know.
But what I'm saying is no one else is
I
doing
know.
that. We're talking about general people
Damn
in general are
neurotypicals.
not going to say
And
what the smell
their
is.
linear way of thinking.
They're not trying to give you the smell type. They want you to understand that it is a bad smell and it's probably different for everyone. They're on the land now because both horses one was torn away, the other one got bucked off.
Yeah.
That's when they see the graboid grappling with a horse.
Yes.
Which I think was also done pretty well.
Yeah.
They have a tentacle literally wrapped around the full body of the horse and fighting the horse and biting it and killing the horse.
Yes. There was a lot of technical, like how they did that scene. I didn't look too deeply into the research on that one, but I know the Humane Society was very concerned about making sure that the animals were safe. But I believe they put a fake tentacle, obviously a fake tentacle, on the horse beforehand to
No
get the
real
horse
graboids,
acclimated,
yes.
and then they had the animatronic, the moving. But like I said, no, they were. I don't.
Well, you could tell that the parts where they were moving and stuff was not used on a real horse.
Yeah, so I think that definitely the Humane Society were definitely...
Well, they have handlers that are specifically there for the animals. Mm-hmm. So that's their whole purpose. It's their animals typically.
They let a whole pen of sheep die. No.
But they're there to protect the animals during filming, and that's their whole point. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's a good thing. And it hasn't slacked up. I mean, it's only gotten stricter. Even cockroaches are very well looked after. Mm-hmm. And rightfully so. These are, you're using these animals
They're
against
living creatures.
their own natural, ways of doing things. And you have to treat them with some kind of respect.
Yes.
So the horse is down. They do a very good job of making that look realistic. Even now, I have to say it wasn't bad. In the 90s, very realistic. And you're like, holy shit, that's killing that horse. But it's not a real graboid because it's a fake monster. He shoots the tentacle, and they're like, we got it. And then it rears up out of the ground, and you see the full graboid the first time. You see the full graboid. Yep. And before all this, it's all been underground. It's all been innuendo. Mm-hmm. The cuts
cameras,
away.
Yeah,
the camera cuts away, or it's from the point of view of the monster, things like that. But now you're seeing the graboid itself, and that is kind of the oh shit moment. And Val and Earl are freaked the fuck out, and they do the right thing.
Go to that culvert.
They start running away, and Val is firing at first, but if you notice, he turns and throws the gun.
Because he's like, well, this isn't working.
Well, why carry it if it's just going to slow you down?
Exactly.
He's got to get faster than Earl.
That's true.
You don't have to be faster than the monster.
Just faster than the people in front of you.
That's right. You got to be faster than the people around you. So they jump for the other side of the culvert, and they obviously don't make it because this is not their film to be superheroes.
No.
And they slide down the far facing of the culvert, and they're like trying to scramble to get out, but then the graboid runs into the side of the culvert from the other side, killing itself.
Yes.
That's how fast it was going with no digging apparatus.
Yes.
I don't want to criticize here, but there's no digging apparatus.
When they slid down, I almost wanted to hear that screeching on glass sound. That,
but it's concrete.
It's concrete. I know.
I'm just feeling that texture in my head.
Oh, yeah, that would be
of their
hands
fingers.
and,
yes. So anyway, it hits, and that's when you see all the goo. Mm-hmm. And I think that was done really well too, where they have the cracks
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see the one tentacle hanging out dead, lifeless, and all the ooze coming down. There's a lot of corn syrup died that day.
Oh, so much. All the corns.
That's when the seismologist student shows back up.
Yeah, she comes above them and she's like, "Hey, guys. Y'all good? Something weird was going on, wasn't it? Did you notice that?"
And then
And they're like, "You think?"
yeah, she notices the graboid, or at least the tentacle.
Yes.
So they prop it open. They use some sticks and they bust the concrete open. Mm-hmm. And the graboid head comes flying out. Well, not flying out, but falling out.
Yes.
Quite dead.
Yes.
And stinking very badly.
Because ew.
And that's your close-up of the graboid unmoving.
Yeah, for the first time, really.
And during that time, Val has been in the back on the top of the culvert, in the soil, digging away the body of the creature.
To see how far back it goes.
And you see it goes about 12, 15 feet, I think. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, and he's got the tail of it at that point. And he's like, "Hey, look how big this thing is."
I found the ass. Yeah. And that's when the seismologist student, who is apparently minoring in biology,
Yeah.
says, "Look at these thingies." And it's the little basic scales or paddles all along its body in different places, much like you would see like on other insects and stuff, or worms maybe, that they use it to propel themselves under the earth.
Okay.
So it has some, I don't think it's insects or worms. Some creatures have those little appendages. They use those to move.
Yeah. So it's using that type of biology.
Right. In a very, like, it's not enough. I'm not going to get into all that. And because I don't have a perfect grasp of all that. I just know this gives them a basis for their locomotion.
Yes.
That's all it's supposed to do, and it's not supposed to be realistic. It's supposed to be a little bit funny.
And, like, she also must have a degree in paleontology of some form, because she does mention how it is not known in any of the fossils, before
it's
the
not in the fossil record.
Or maybe it's from before the fossil records were being kept, and she's
Yeah, she's suddenly anthropologist.
Yeah, she's all over the place.
Archaeologist. She's Indiana Jones in a bucket hat.
In a bucket hat. With cute curls.
But I don't think she's trying. I think she's probably just using residual knowledge of things she's learned over the years, and she probably does as a seismologist. Maybe there's an intersection where they deal with anthropology sometimes. That probably intersects at some point, because we're talking about earth science. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it intersects in some way. That she may have gone to digs for college and stuff, like participated in those events. Maybe.
Paleontology, right?
Paleontology.
Yeah, because anthropology, I'm like, that's human.
Yeah, anthropology.
Which could be,
but
still.
Human dig sites can also
Yeah.
yield those types of things.
I wanted to be an anthropologist.
Everybody does. Everybody wants to be an anthropologist until they
get eaten
realize
by cannibals.
They're not going to find all the cool things they think they're going to find.
Oh, I didn't want to find a cool thing. I just wanted to study people.
Okay.
And then I realized I hate them.
I can do that by just disliking them now. So they now have to figure out what to do. They're talking about moving this graboid, huge. Mm-hmm. They're going to get a tractor. They're going to pull it. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah. But can't do that. It might break apart. Got to get maybe a crane or something. And,
right.
Oh, yeah.
So now they got to go back to town.
Yes, but they don't make it to the town, do they? Not this time.
Right.
They another one comes out of the...
No, before that.
Before that?
Yeah. When they're talking about it, they're discussing, we're going to get a tractor and all this. This is Val and Earl. Mm-hmm. The student, Flynn, is that her name, Flynn?
Finn is her real name? Yeah, Rhonda.
Rhonda, yeah. Rhonda runs over and grabs her seismology sheets, her charts. And her
yes.
data.
And then when she says, "Oh, well, that's not the only one. There's 3 others."
And she's explaining it in detail, and they're like, no, we believe you.
We believe you. You don't need to prove it. We good.
I like that. I kind of like that, because you're sum up. It's too much.
It's too much. It's too much.
So they realize there's more, and that's now what they start seeing signs of them.
Yes.
And that's when they start running for the rocks.
Yes. And a lot of things happen on the rocks. They go on this big boulder, and they realize that it's the vibrations. And
Well,
they don't realize it right away.
They haven't understood really the whole point of Edgar, why Edgar died until just now.
Yeah, because that's when they're like, well, now we understand that Edgar, he must have, why he died of exposure. Because he couldn't come down. There. Yeah. And that's when she just says, that the fossils and everything. And
well, you get the sense they've been out there for hours.
Yes.
And in that time, they're just trying to think their way through these things.
Yes.
And Val and Earl are talking about, what to do.
Mm-hmm.
She's talking about what this could mean.
Yes.
And they both, Val and Earl, decide they're going to go down and check and see.
Yes.
So Val goes down and he takes a board,
mm-hmm.
and he's poking the ground, and a graboid comes up and, the tentacle comes up and grabs it.
Yeah.
And like, shit, they're still there.
Yeah.
And that's when they realize that Edgar didn't die because he was stupid. Edgar died because he couldn't get away,
mm-hmm.
because they will hang out.
And they will wait. Much
like some predators will hang out in an area.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you get away from them, they're going to hang out to see if you slip up.
Yes.
And so now they're despondent. They've been there for a long time. They don't know what to do. They're arguing with
mm-hmm.
each other. And the whole time they're arguing, she's trying to tell them.
Well, before that, I think it's funny because, this goes right with it, but Val goes, "Can I borrow that?" to get her shovel. And then he throws it off the side and the graboid takes it. Well, you didn't borrow it because to borrow means you're going to give back.
Or you can get it out of the graboid later,
yeah,
or
sure.
maybe they'll spit it out.
Maybe.
But she never sees that shovel.
No.
Again.
But yes,
that was her seismology shovel.
I know, it was a cute little shovel. They're arguing on how they're going to get out of there, and she's like,
they're ignoring her.
They're ignoring her.
They're just arguing with each other, completely ignoring her.
And she's just like, you know what? Let me do this. And she gets a pole of something that's just perfectly laid there.
Perfectly hewn, smooth, same length poles,
yep.
all together in this little area of rocky outcropping.
And she pole vaults over to the other rock. And then she's like, "Guys, have you ever pole vaulted?" And they're like, "Well, shit." And they get down. They get their own poles. And
so the trick is to stay up on the rocks, instead of getting on the ground, so that they can't be killed by the graboids. So they're going to pole vault from one set of rocks to another until they get to her truck, which is parked near some.
Yes, and then when they get to that last one, they're like, "Okay, we need to all go at the same time."
Well, I like that during the time that
they're all like very
it does synchronize. Yeah, they're pole vaulting in 3 different sections at the same time, and they're synchronized.
Yeah.
And it's a very good visual.
It is.
It's a far off shot. And it actually kind of is a calm moment.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, it's not scary, it looks fun. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that, get my butt across
There are a lot
the way.
of things in this movie that undercut the horror.
Well, yeah, because again, it's got to be a little bit light because it's not meant to be.
I don't think it's meant to be horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be scary, but also fun and exciting in some way.
And so, they decide they're going to jump into the back of the truck at the same time. She puts her keys in her teeth.
Which I think is a great plan, because that means she's ready to go, and she wastes no time.
She does not.
She is she
doesn't even try to get her feet in. She's just right in. And
I'm telling you, without her, they would have died.
They would have.
She had her shit together.
She saves them so many times. There's that time, there's the pole vaulting, there's later on with the water. There's so many times in this movie that she is quite integral,
Yeah, she saved their bacon several times.
Yeah, she saved the bacon.
So they get to the truck. She dives into the little window, the sliding window. And starts the truck up, and then puts it into gear and starts taking off while they're battling all the graboid tongues.
And she's
tentacles.
driving with her hand, and they're going, and then she's like, "Guys,"
they're still arguing.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Can you help me?"
Because she can't see where they're going, and she's literally got her hand on the gas to get them going. So then they don't really show you how they fixed that, but you assume that they stopped get her in there. They drive off. And they end up back at
Perfection.
In the general store.
Again, at the store. They just can't get away from this place. They can't even run the other direction.
Yep.
It is so frustrating that they keep ending up back.
Yep.
And you get the sense of their frustration when they're back there again, because not only are they frustrated because they can't seem to go the direction they're wanting to go this whole time, but they keep coming back here and having to explain the same thing to the same people.
Yes.
There's more dead people.
So
And now there's monsters, goddammit.
Yeah.
It's not a serial killer, now it's a monster.
So throughout, while they're trying to figure out how the hell they're going to get out of this town and what they're going to do about it, Melvin is the boy who cried wolf. He
does it several times.
Yeah, he's like, and they're all like, oh shit. And he
wrapped the tentacle,
with him.
the one that they ripped off with the truck. He wraps that thing around his neck and comes out of the store screaming.
Dead. It's a dead thing,
and everyone's on edge, so they all freak out. And then they realize he's fucking around.
Yeah.
And then this time, when everyone's on edge, especially Val and Earl, who were trying to get the fuck out of this place and still can't manage it, and now more and more responsibility keeps being heaped on them.
Yes.
That's the thing. They didn't want this responsibility. It's the whole reason why they're handymen, why they work for themselves, why they just do things they want to do.
Just want to be.
They don't want that kind of responsibility.
No.
But now it's been thrust on them at every turn. They're responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And the basketball comes in with Melvin's yelling, and he throws the basketball at Earl, and Earl's like, I am going to fuck you up, kid.
Yeah. And,
and not so in so many words. But
and he does it, like, again, later on, he yells, and they're like, that's it, dude. We're done with, you're going to. So when he does actually get attacked by the graboids, they don't pay attention at first. They're just like, whatever, motherfucker.
And then they realize the graboids are here.
Yes. And Reba and Michael Gross, they haven't returned yet, have they? Or they just got back to their house?
No, they went to their house.
They went to their house.
Which is a bunker.
Oh, it's a bunker. So. Yeah. And they're down in their basement. And they're before that, they all realize that they can feel them inside the houses, too. They save Mindy. I'm all over the place because a lot of stuff happens in the town at one time. So first,
Val runs out and saves the little girl.
Yes.
Who is on the pogo stick. This is kind of an iconic scene where she's on the pogo stick and she's jumping up and down. She's got her headphones on.
That's why she can't hear them.
And they're they know that there's monsters because Melvin was just attacked.
Yes.
And he got away.
Yeah, he's up on top of the shed.
Oh, he's in a shed.
He's in a shed.
Then they realize they were going to come up through the boards. Mm-hmm. So they tell everybody to get up on top.
Yeah.
Well, before that, they see the little girl and they realize she's out there making noise, thumping on the ground like and I only think of Dune with the thumpers. That's what that is. I'm like, I think Dune copied that, but they didn't, obviously. But she's on the pogo stick, jumping up and down. Val runs for her and takes her off of it, and it stands perfectly straight up and down, long enough for the graboid
to suck it down.
To suck it down.
And then spit it out behind them.
Right. It loves to do that trick of spitting it back out. Mm-hmm. And they take off. The mother and the daughter run for their house.
Yes.
Val tells them, get to the house. And he runs the other way.
Yes. And
they get into their house, and that's when everybody realizes they're going to come up through the floors.
Yes. When the soda machine, the little freezer, or whatever that is, it's kind of foreshadowed early on that it has a faulty motor and
it has a bad bearing, so it makes a lot of noise when it goes off.
Yeah, so it's like,
So it went off, and everybody's trying to unplug it. They all do an excellent job of that kind of like, oh shit, and they're just trying to. You can tell they really play out the. Holy shit, we got to get this. They throw in cans everywhere. The cans are breaking. These are real cans of soda breaking everywhere as they're, just slinging everything away from them, trying to get to this. You really feel that desperation.
Oh, yeah. And I believe that's when they lose Mr. Chang.
Yeah, Mr. Chang gets...
Eaten.
Yeah, graboid tentacles grab him all over, and they pull him under.
Poor Mr. Chang.
And then, they get everything in the store for free now.
Yes. And they all go up onto their roofs. And while they're up on the roof, Mr. Keaton calls in on the CB.
Right.
And they're like, let's get that. And they hang Kevin Bacon off the side of the building so he could reach it. Apparently, this CB radio does not need to be plugged in.
The floor is lava.
It is. The floor is definitely lava.
So everyone is playing a giant game of the floor is lava.
And
right
Rhonda
now.
is up on the water tower. Mom and Mindy are up on their house. Melvin the Dick is on the shed. I'm just trying to think of where everybody is. But Reba and Mr. Keaton are still in the basement.
The basement. They don't know exactly what's going on, which is why they start talking on the radio, because Reba, when they got there,
she saw that everyone was
saw
up on
everyone on top of the roofs, far off with her binoculars, and she's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. So then she goes downstairs in the basement, and she's like, he's talking, and she's like, yeah, something's going on out there. And and I think this is kind of why their house gets attacked next, is because she puts that cleaner thing, the vibrator thing.
It's a vibrating cleaner. It looks
it almost looks like a rock tumbler laying on its side.
Well, it is a tumbler in a way. It does tumble. It tumbles the stuff in there. It's a bowl that vibrates a lot, and inside are usually like either polishing stones of some kind or sanding stones, stuff like that. They're to break down like any particulate stuff on metal and that type of thing.
Okay.
And she's putting her brass in there to be clean.
Yes.
Basically.
And
very clean brass to be clean, but
yes,
okay.
But hey, it's what it is. And so they're telling him, you guys have to get up on the roof. They're coming at you. And he's like, we're good. No, we're not. And then all of a sudden,
I think he just doesn't really understand if they're being truthful or they're full of shit. I mean, he doesn't really know what, because
he comes off as a big badass.
Well, he's thinking about the tentacles.
True.
He doesn't know about the larger creature.
That's true. He doesn't.
And he doesn't know that they come from under the ground. And they have to yell that several times for it to finally
because they start looking out their windows. They grab guns and they start looking out those little tiny windows, which had great locks on those windows. And those were reinforced windows because they were thick.
You get a sense that this is a bunker.
This is definitely a bunker.
They paid attention to the details in this movie.
Yeah, the windows really caught me with the
even
detail.
the wall full of guns.
Yeah, the wall full of guns, definitely. But that's when they're like, it's underground, you can't see it. And so then you see the wall on the other side start to bulge where it's pushing in
through the cinder block,
and then it breaks through the cinder block, and then they're like, and he goes radio silent, and they're all like, shit, he's gone, they're gone, they got eaten. But then you hear
the reports. You hear the reports of multiple shots of gunfire, very large caliber gunfire echoing through the valley.
And that's when he rips out the elephant gun out of the case, because
they try every gun on the rack.
They do.
Even Reba with the two. She's got two pistols. I think they're 1911s, and she's just firing them inexpertly, firing two guns. Two guns is not easy to fire at the same time. I've tried the John Woo thing. It does not work. You cannot control two guns at the same time and hit what you're aiming for in any kind of emergency. Just use one gun.
No, I mean, I would be good with my right hand, but my left hand would be shooting everybody. My left hand does what it wants to do.
You just can't control two weapons at the same time if you want to have any kind of aim. Because you're trying to sight in, and you can't really do that with two weapons.
Well, my left arm would be like one of those flailing, those guys in front of the stores, those the wiggling, whatever they are,
I know what you're
flappy arm guys. That's what my left arm would be doing.
So they're shooting everything they've got, and then they work their way down.
Yeah, to the elephant
gun. The elephant gun in a breakable glass case. I don't know why.
I don't know.
That's a weird.
I know. In case of
emergency
break glass.
I think it was a display case, but honestly, the way he broke the glass to get it seemed like it was a breaking case of fire.
Yeah, type of situation.
Which was funny. But he pulls that out, and it's that big, sleek silver elephant gun.
Yes.
Which you said was on loan?
Yes, it was actually, I forget where they said it was loaned from, but they did loan a a museum, not a museum, but like a collector, I think loaned it to them for the movie.
So it's an actual firearm.
Yes, and they
which
used
is
blanks.
important to
So the
know.
blanks, and I believe the blanks that they said they used were pieces of brass. They were like brass cylinders. I think is what they said for the blanks that they used.
The blanks are just the cartridges that stand in as...
Yeah, I think I vaguely looked at that because I didn't think it was too important at the moment. I'm trying to
it really doesn't matter because blanks are just, wadding with a little bit of fire,
Yeah, well, my love of odd trivia, and I'm trying to like cull it down to where it's actually more relevant.
There's a little bit of gunpowder in them with a primer and then some wadding.
So, yeah, they end up going up onto the roof and they try to shoot them, but he realizes that, even with an elephant gun, you can't penetrate the dirt.
He kills the one.
He does kill the one in his basement.
With the elephant gun, kills it dead. And so they think they've got a way to kill these things.
Yeah, but they don't know there's more than one either.
Right.
Until they go up onto the roof and then with the radio and they're like, shit. And we got it. And they're like, no, there's more. But wait, there's more.
And they see the one on the ground.
Yes.
And then he thinks he can take it out. He's like, hold on a second and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And so he shoots it and they all realize at that point that shooting through the ground isn't a good way to use projectile weapons.
Exactly. So there once again...
It steals all the kinetic energy and you're left with just a bruised and angry graboid.
Yes. And so while they're figuring all this out, Rhonda up on her water tower is like, yo, look what's happening. They're doing stuff. And you see the small tentacles kind of feeling around the building of the general store. And my favorite line, they look over and they're like, well, what do you think they're doing? And she's like, why do you keep asking me?
Which I think is an excellent way to, to explain that she's the smart one. But she doesn't have all the fucking answers.
Yeah.
And why is she going to have an answer for a graboid?
And I like that because, you can be the smart person and not be the know-it-all. And that's, I think, sometimes that's with movies, there's that, it's a hard line that they don't.
She's not the professor on Gilligan's Island.
No.
She doesn't have all the goddamn answers. She's just a person trying to survive.
For a hot minute, we thought she did because, she was talking about all the other scientific, backgrounds.
Yeah, but you can talk about dinosaurs all day long and know everything about them. But if a dinosaur comes up to you, you're getting eaten.
Oh, yeah. Shit, yeah.
So it doesn't really help to know about them.
Oh, yeah.
In a realistic sense, you're just...
And this is not something...
You know really well what's about to eat you.
And this is new.
Right.
This is not something she knows.
But her frustration coupled with their anxiety.
Yeah.
We have a whole dynamic going on up here of now they know, they thought they were safe. So this was all, it became very academic.
Mm-hmm.
Their fear was academic. They could pull away from the direct sense of fear and start looking at things objectively in a way.
Yeah.
Because they're out of immediate danger. So therefore they're looking at the patterns. They're saying, oh, he's coming towards you. Now we can direct things.
Yeah, but now they're seeing it's...
But when the foundations start getting eaten from under their houses and the buildings,
yep.
They realize the perilous predicament they're still in.
Exactly.
And suddenly they're filled with anxiety again. They're back in the situation of danger.
I honestly, because it has
so
been...
now they're arguing with each other.
Yeah, they're once again. But because I have not seen the movie in so long, I kept thinking, oh, Miguel, don't die. Please, Miguel, you are our only person of color in this movie after Mr.,
It was pretty diverse for the 90s.
I mean, it was mostly white, and there was one Asian character and one Hispanic character.
That's a lot for the 90s.
That was a lot for the 90s. I mean, definitely, it would have been nice to have seen another person of color in there. But
any black folk at all would have been nice. Any black folk at all.
I mean, just or somebody who was Hispanic who looked a bit more Hispanic. Because I'm sorry, Miguel, he was very, very pale. For somebody who lives out in the desert,
I'm not going to judge him by his color.
I mean, I lived out in the desert, and I don't think I met many people who were pale. I wasn't even pale then, and I am the palest of pale.
Yeah, but Reba will burn.
Reba will burn. That is true.
She cannot help it.
She can't.
It's the vampire.
A redhead. Yeah.
Vampire redheads.
Yes. So again, I would have appreciated.
Well, she's gorgeous, by the way. I'm not trying to talk any shit
me...
about Reba.
Nah. they did fantastic, and I'm not judging them on that because considering again the time
They
period,
did it. They did a
better than-
serviceable job showing some.
could they have done better? Yes. Did they do a great job considering all the other things around it at that time? Fan-fucking-tastic.
They did not kill all the minorities off.
I was afraid they were going to.
They did not.
Because when, like I said, when
Spoiler: Miguel survives.
Miguel survives, and I'm
Not
so
only that,
happy
but he gets a Medal of Honor, and he also gets a graboid army that he leads.
Oh, see, I didn't know that part.
That's in Tremors 5, The Reckoning.
1,000.
I'm making all that up. So they decide at this point they're going to get something that cannot be dug out from underneath them.
And they need to get to the mountains where the ground is solid.
Right. In order to do that, they're going to need to use the giant tractor, this humongous bulldozer, which they were using for
Trash.
very small mounds of trash.
Yes. So yeah, they're like, okay, well, how do we do this? Because it's like all the way over there. And Michael Keaton again.
That's okay. Stephen Keaton.
No. Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Kevin Bacon. It wasn't even the right person.
I was like all over the place, my brain.
Oh my God.
My brain. So again,
De-bacon the bacon.
I have a detachment between what my brain is thinking and what my mouth says.
That's everybody has that.
ADD. So yes, Kevin Bacon. He's like, I'm gonna go for it, bitches.
I love bacon.
Yeah, me too. We had bacon last night.
I know, it was really good.
Yeah,
I really
bacon in
enjoyed the thick cut bacon.
Fridge still. Okay, I'm hungry.
So Kevin Bacon.
Yes, Kevin Bacon decides I'm gonna go for it. I'm just gonna go run for it. I'm gonna outrun it. So Miguel has the brilliant idea. He's like, hey, let's take the mower and let it go on do its own thing.
General Miguel.
Yes, and he's like, we will let the mower distract them, and then you can run to the cat.
Damn straight. He also had the foresight to pack lunches. He had these little tiny sandwiches that he made with cream cheese. You didn't see that part? I think that was part of the add-on to the movie.
The cut scenes?
Yeah.
I live with this, y'all. I live with this all the time. So they start the mower, and the mower goes off in its direction. And Kevin Bacon goes, and he runs to the other direction. Except the mower
doesn't make it.
No, it gets to a certain point, and it kind of flips over onto its side because,
Right.
it's an unmanned mower. And
As they do. They
Yeah.
flip on their side. And unfortunately, the reason why that mower had not been used at all is, first of all, there's no fucking grass here, so what were they cutting?
exactly.
Number two, it kept flipping on the rider. It rolls.
So, my friend who I was talking about earlier who passed away, years before I actually met her, she was on one of those little riding mowers.
You're going to say it flipped, aren't
It did,
you?
broke her hip.
See, now you just took something that was funny and you made it real.
Well, no, it was always funny because Kelly was like, there was nothing there. So it was like a little edge and it just went,
It was a graboid.
yeah, basically. And it
was Texas, so it
was,
probably looked a lot like,
West Texas.
there was no grass.
Well, there was at that time. They took very good care of that front lawn for a hot minute until the chickens ruined it.
So Kevin goes running off. Val goes running off.
But the
mower's
flipped.
The mower flips, and now
He's like, oh shit. And then Rhonda goes, stand still, don't move, don't move, don't move. So he's doing this one-legged flamingo stand.
because the graboid's trying to get his foot.
Yeah, it's trying to feel around for him. And he's like, no. And so she goes and she comes down her ladder from the water tower she's on.
Very smart move, because
Very
everyone's
smart
yelling,
move.
trying to distract the
Oh,
monster,
yeah.
but it's not having it.
No, so she kicks a pole, like a pipe loose, and the water from the water tower starts trickling and hitting the ground, making little pitter patters.
Flooding down on the ground,
Yeah, but it's making
a lot
enough
of
of
noise.
a vibration, and the graboid is like, "Oh, bitch, there's something back there." So then they start coming back at her, and Kevin Bacon just beats feet to the machine bulldozer.
Yes,
and she ends up going back up because at that point the graboid knocks over the ladder, and she's
rips the ladder right off.
Yeah.
It's because it's made onto the thing, and he rips the ladder right off.
And
he or
so-
she, I don't know which gender it is.
Yeah, so Kevin Bacon then takes the trailer.
You can tell a graboid's gender by the balls it drags behind it.
Oh my God. I thought it was by how many penile worms it has coming out of its mouth.
Oh, that would also be a good one, too.
And then there's one that's going around with one missing, so that's Stumpy. They call him Stumpy. And so Kevin Bacon, he hooks the trailer up, which has like the most rotted out tires, but they're going to drag it along anyway. And he goes and collects.
And it's half a tanker trailer. So it's metal
this, like,
and it's curved.
Like a half pipe.
Right, but the top's been cut off.
Yeah.
Of it.
And so he goes around collecting everybody. Because then you...
Smart move.
Yeah.
I think
then
it
they
was,
get to
well done.
Mr. Keaton and Reba's house, and Mr. Keaton's up there fucking around, and he gonna find out because he's just like, okay, but I need this, and we need that, and let's make some more pipe bombs, and let's make...
See, they're prepping pipe bombs,
Yes.
which these are shrapnel pipe bombs and not... Well, all pipe bombs are technically shrapnel, but these are plastic pipe bombs with BBs inside of them.
Yes.
They're designed for spread. It makes a lot of noise. It throws BBs everywhere. It's dangerous, but not the same as packing something tightly.
Oh, yeah.
Packing explosives tightly in a metal cylinder. There's a difference.
No, because this is PVC pipe. It's
So you
they're
have
literally taking it off their roof.
So it's not a frangible grenade. It's a packed grenade, basically.
Yeah. So they...
So when they take all the pipes basically off the roof of their house to make these with convenient caps the same exact size as the pipes. I think they planned that.
I think Reba grabbed her go bag is what she did.
They're throwing everything into the trailer, and people are taking all the stuff and getting it out of the way.
And they're like, come on.
He does take his time, but without the stuff that he brought, they would not have survived.
No, definitely.
And I have to say, if you're going to prep. And he did. He prepped. He did what he could in a tense situation. These guys all survived by being a part of the solution to things.
Yes.
None of them were just dead weight for the most part.
No.
Except Melvin, who is a dick.
Fucking Melvin. And Mindy, but she's a little kid, so we're going to let her pass.
But they all have ideas, and they all say the things. And Melvin even wants a gun, and they're like, hell no. But they all bring something to the table to help. They have suggestions. They're all part of the solution because they're all in danger. And you can feel that amp up at this point where the graboids are starting to try to dig out from under these things and bury this very heavy machine. So they have to keep moving forward a little bit to keep near the house so that they can jump onto it.
Yeah. And honestly, poor little Mindy. You know, she gets through this. She survives this, and she gets through it. And then she goes to visit her grandpa on his island and ends up almost getting eaten by dinosaurs.
Wasn't that Kirsten Dunst?
No.
I was doing a layup. I gave you a layup.
I know, because I knew Kirsten Dunst's dad when I was a kid, and her grandparents. They all went to my church, so. And so I
didn't know you owned a church.
I know. I was not always the heathen that you love.
No, I mean, you owned a church?
No, I went to church. I didn't own a church.
Church you attended?
Yes, the church I attended.
Well, you know, there's cult leaders and there's cult followers. It's more fun to be a cult follower, but it's better money if you're a cult leader.
I wanted to be a cult leader, but I am just not that enigmatic. Well, I had to look off into space for a hot minute. So
that'll record well.
Yes. So they're just trucking along, trying to get to the mountains, dragging their trailer full of people.
It's doing well. It's plodding along.
And now they've got
but
two
they only
more
have to
graboids.
Go 9 miles.
And there's 2 graboids left. Now this thing is slower than dirt, so it's going to be like put.
But it's only 9 miles.
And
so they're feeling hopeful because the graboids have actually stopped pestering them.
And they're kind of, but you see them off in the distance, and
plumes of dust.
Yeah, and was it Kevin Bacon or was it Earl that was like, I don't care what they're doing as long as they're doing it over there.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think
one
it
of
matters.
them said it.
So one of them said it.
Yeah.
And foreshadow, they were plotting, and all of a sudden
Mr. Keaton
is in the front of the bucket.
Michael Keaton, the Batman, is on. No.
Michael Gross.
So Stephen Keaton is. What is his actual character name?
Oh, the character's name is Burt Gummer.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
Michael Gross is on the front of the bulldozer, he's in the bucket.
Yeah.
And he's standing there with his shotgun. Well,
His elephant
gun. And what I think was like a really well done scene. This is like, so the stunt man that's in the bucket, standing in for Michael Gross.
What, he didn't do his own stunts? Okay, now I'm pissed.
Now, total disillusionment with the entire thing. So there's a trench that's been dug, but you can't tell because they dug a tunnel.
Under the ground, yeah.
Under the ground, across the path that this bulldozer was going down. When it falls into it, very well done sequence, you can see that stuntman tumble right off the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes a hard hit, but you can see him tumble really well. These are just really well done scenes. They're very small, very fast scenes, but I just have to hand it to the director, to the stunt coordinators, that you really get a sense of real people involved. You know, like they actually fell. They hit hard. And when Michael Gross comes back on in the scene as him taking a dive, he's completely covered in dirt.
Oh, yeah.
And you get a sense that he took that dive.
Oh, yeah. It's a shame that this movie didn't do as well in the theaters because I feel like, the reason why the popularity behind Tremors is because of when it came to cable and people renting it.
And DVD.
In DVD, yeah.
Rentals,
yeah. So, but it's a shame that it didn't do as well in the theater. I would have liked to have seen it in the theater because I could imagine how impactful it would have been, so large. And I did not see it in the theater, but I feel like people just didn't really appreciate it for what it was.
I don't think they got this movie because of the comedy. Because of the situationals.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of if there was something else out at that time that would have taken away from it. I'll have to look that up.
Well, it was 90s, so there were a lot of action flicks.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was the problem.
But you're talking about a monster horror rather than, something like, spies fighting and stuff,
Yeah. Well, regardless. It's still, so yeah, the whole front end of the bulldozer, right in. And then they start taking out the bottom of the trailer. So everyone's like, ah!
They're digging out from under it. They're trying to get to it.
And everyone is now in the trailer because the whole front end.
And they're panicking. And right now, Michael Gross and his wife Reba are very pissed at Val and Earl, who told them to fucking leave.
Yeah, because they're like, we had 5 years worth of food at our house and da-da-da-da-da. And I get that, but also they could get into your house. You couldn't live on the roof of your house.
And this is when they get out of the trailer and they all run to the rocks.
Yes.
That are close by.
Yeah, big boulders. Conveniently placed boulders.
and Reba's, I like how Reba turns Michael Gross to the side and she's like, it's okay, it's okay. Damn, Earl thinks he knows everything. Mm-hmm. So you get a sense that, Earl has a lot to say to people and he always says it in a very knowing way.
Yeah.
And he's always full of shit.
Yeah. Poor Earl. He's a good guy. He just not, yeah. So they are up there and they're trying to figure out, like I said, keep in mind, there's still two craboids. There's Stumpy and then there's the other rogue. And they are just coming at them and they decide they're going to...
We called him Sebastian.
So they decide they're going to take out Sebastian then. And they realize, we can try to lure him and we can throw a bomb out there and he'll eat one of those bombs and, blow him up. And... Well,
the first time they throw a bomb, what they realize is this comes back later. Just want to bring this up because it'll come back around. I want this to be part of the situation.
Yeah.
They throw the bomb. It doesn't hit any of them. It blows up, and
they run.
Because of the sound and the vibration, they immediately separate and run away. They just run in the direction they're facing.
Yeah.
So they don't really have control over it. It's a fear response that these monsters are having.
Yes.
That's something to be noted for later.
Yes.
So
they start throwing rocks onto the ground to draw it in, Sebastian. Right. And then they tie one of the bombs to a rope. And he's like, how much time do you think? 15 seconds. And then he literally
he tears off about
the
wick. 3-4 inch of
and he's like, where'd you get
cannon wick? Yes.
He goes, where'd you get that wick? He's like, it's cannon wick. He's
cannon fuse. We're calling it wick. It's fuse.
Fuse. And he's like, what do you use it for? He goes, my cannon. If you had a cannon.
but how are you going to aim that down?
That's true.
This isn't Bugs Bunny.
I mean, true. So, though there was that one running where you almost heard the tick, 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 they were running away from it. So Earl takes it, and he's like, doesn't like Val tease him about, you're gonna try that lasso trick again, and he's like, so he throws.
So they fight like brothers.
They do. They really do.
Yeah.
And so they light it, and of course he doesn't have the lighter, but Val has the lighter.
There is, throughout the movie, there's this thing about the lighter always ends up in someone else's hands.
Never the person who needs it.
Yeah, never the person who needs it. I don't know if that's an inside joke.
I think it's supposed to be to get to that last part.
I don't know, but it may be. It may have been a mechanic, but again, that's the attention to detail in this movie, that you see this throughout the movie play out, and you're like, why does that always happen? And then at the end, you see that happen for a reason.
Oh yeah.
So
and
yeah.
So so Sebastian comes up and he eats the bomb
because it's being played as a lure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he sucks it down, and then kablooey, no more Sebastian. We mourned him.
R.I.P. Sebastian.
Poor Sebastian.
We hardly knew ye.
Yes. I was going to do that.
5,000 candles in the wind. I just realized what I said was Sebastian was little Sebastian.
Oh my God. I didn't think of that either until you said the 5,000 candles in the wind.
I just like the name Sebastian.
I do too. So then all's left is now Stumpy. So they try to pull this again with Stumpy. And this time it's Val who's going to do the woohoo lasso.
Lasso is also correct.
And but he doesn't have the lighter. Rhonda has the lighter. So he has the lighter. He lights it and he hands it to Rhonda.
Well, Rhonda lights it for him while he holds the bomb.
And then she puts the lighter in her pocket.
Right. And so the lighter keeps moving around.
Yes. So now he
does the same exact sequence.
Exactly the same thing. They throw the rocks, draw Stumpy in.
Stumpy is smart.
And so they throw it out. Stumpy sucks it in.
Because he's been hurt before.
And Stumpy's like, fuck that noise. And he spits it back out at them.
He does the same trick of shooting things up in the air as they've done throughout the film.
And it goes right behind them on top of the bag of
the other bombs.
Except for the other one that Kevin Bacon grabbed.
Yeah, they've got one in their hand.
And now, this is where my biggest problem was this scene. Because they know the bombs are going to go off, and everybody kind of goes, and scatters. How the flying fuck did Rhonda, Earl, and Val get so far away from the rock? There is no way they could have run that far.
Couldn't tell you.
It just drives me nuts. It's one of those
They had
things,
to be that far for it to make sense for what they did.
No, but it's still driving me. So
they're pretty far out.
And Stumpy's like, I'm gonna get you, and they're doing
the shark circle basically because you're anticipating the attack.
Yeah, and they're like, throw the bomb. He's like, no, it's my last bomb. And then Kevin Bacon has a light bulb pop up. He
does have an idea, and this comes back to the previous thing of them running away from the bombs, but no one else knows it.
Nobody else knows it. He's just like,
Earl is right beside Val.
Yep.
And Rhonda is a little bit further away from them,
but in the direction that they're going to be running in. So they're going to run past her.
Yeah, they're going to run past her.
And so they start running.
Well, Val starts running, and Earl's like, shit, now I have to run.
And so he's like, I got to go too. And Rhonda still doesn't start running until he's like, I need the lighter. So then she's like, well, shit, I've got the lighter. So they all start running. And you don't, at first you're like, are they running to the rock? No, they're running to a cliff edge.
I think they're running to the same cliff edge they started at the movie.
Oh, probably.
I think it's the same one.
I bet you it is.
So it looks like the same one. Yeah. I'm going to say it's the same one just because it's fun.
Just because, why not?
So it brings it all the way back around. Woo-hoo. So they're standing at the edge of the thing.
And this thing is coming barreling at them.
Right.
And so he lights
Val tears off even more of the fuse to only have a few seconds.
And he throws it.
Well, they light it, he throws it.
And it goes off, and they're like, you missed. And he's like, no. Because then it comes barreling at them, and they both run
really fast because it's being propelled by the fear of the bomb.
And Earl and Rhonda, they jump off to the side, and Val stands there and waits another few seconds, and then he jumps off to the side.
Did he have to do that? No.
No.
Did he do it because it was fun?
Probably. And then poor Stumpy goes flying through the side of the cliff and out over.
While Val taunts him on the way down. Can you fly?
Can you fly? And then he goes splat on the rocks below.
And again, a very good sequence.
Yes.
I mean, yes, it's 90s effects, but they're practical, and I just didn't see an issue with it. I liked the effects.
Oh, yeah, no, it was
still
well done.
kind of holds up today, I think.
I mean, I didn't see, it wasn't, even like when they were showing like all the gore, yeah, it's not real gore, but also.
But that's part of the fun, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're not thinking these neon red organs and stuff,
or human or sheep.
What is it? The condoms that are blown up.
Yeah, it looks like inside some type of
the inside of
organ,
the graboid
it looks
is
like inflated condoms that were bunched together.
So this is not. I don't think it's meant to make you think it's gore. I think it's meant to make you think this is a fun movie about gore.
Because it's not upsetting in any way,
right?
And I think, and again, to me, if a movie. I like my movies to pull me away from reality. Reality's not fun right now. And so for me to watch a movie, it's to pull me away from reality and that fantasy world.
So how did you feel? Oh, let's talk about the end.
Okay, yeah. So they so then it flashes to them at the end. They're leaving. They're
in perfect
they're
again.
Finally going to be
perfection.
Leaving. Yeah, they're going to be leaving
again.
She's leaving, and
they're packed up again. She's packed up.
Yeah, and Val and Rhonda have a bit of an awkward bye. Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
He tears off photos that are on his visor.
Yeah, yep, he does.
Crumbles them up and throws them in the cab so that she doesn't see them. And also, I think he's just kind of come to the realization that maybe his fantasies aren't reality.
Exactly. And then she walks away, and Earl is like giving him this look like, really? That's you're gonna let that go? And honestly, I think it should have ended there. And it originally was meant to end there.
I honestly think it should have ended there too, because it just felt weird that there was a romantic part of this at all.
Yeah, and so apparently during the screenings, the audience wanted him to kiss her. They were like, kiss her.
Because at the end they look at each other.
Like they want to, but also they didn't do the whole looking at the mouth thing, which is what I always look for. To me, that's when somebody really wants to kiss, and they didn't do that. But because the test audiences wanted that so much, they brought back the what's her name? Finn Carter and Kevin Bacon, and they reshot that ending part just to include the kiss.
Right.
So yeah, he goes after her, and the one thing he says that I like is he's like, "What does she want with me? She's working on her PhD, and I'm nobody." And I think that's him also humbling himself, like, but she does like me.
I don't think it's him humbling himself. I think really this is kind of his issue all along.
Yeah,
the reason he picked the fantasy was he never had to deal with the reality then.
Yeah, true.
So in a lot of ways, that it's that same.
Oh my God, it's me again. I don't like to. Yeah.
It's the same lack of responsibility they've been trying to get away from all this time. They've been trying to get away from responsibility.
Yeah.
So Val finally is acknowledging some responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think they've been changed by those attacks and dealing with it and surviving it. Although you can get into the whole aspect of survivors tend to have this, charged and unrealistic expectation at the end of surviving.
Mm-hmm.
So, we see that in things like Speed.
Yeah.
Les Sped. and other movies like that where the sequel shows you them not being together at all.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't sustain itself. It was just the acceleration of the things that happened that caused the passion. I do not like to think that about Lake Placid.
No.
I want them to be together because they belong together.
There's a difference between characters that have that chemistry. And honestly, I like the relationship that Val and Rhonda have.
I like their friendship.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want them to be in a relationship. I wanted him to come to the realization that unrealistic expectations based on a childish notion are probably okay to drop,
Yeah.
but not with her. She should be your friend.
Exactly.
Maybe go after Reba.
So it's funny, not Reba. Well, so when they so they weren't going to cast her at first. They were like, we don't want to, we'll just let her audition. And then she got the part.
It's her first movie, right?
She had done TV shows, but this was her first feature, yes.
Right.
Now, they wanted Jack Palance to play Michael Gross's character.
Ooh.
He would have been too old, but he would have been very crotchety. I think,
And it would have taken it on a very serious bent. Whereas
Yeah.
Michael Gross kind of gave a parody of a prepper, you know.
And Bill Paxton, Matthew Modine, and Bruce Campbell were all considered for Kevin Bacon's part.
I can see some of them.
Yeah, I can't see Bruce Campbell. I think it would have been too Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, he would have Bruce Campbell that whole thing up. Yes.
I could see Bill Paxton doing it. Matthew Modine, maybe.
I think so.
But yeah, not Bruce. I'm sorry, Bruce, but you would have Bruce Campbell the whole thing. So how did you feel watching it again?
The same. I still felt excited to watch it. I was still happy to watch it.
So I was very excited to watch it, but I was also kind of dubious in the sense of, is it going to hold up?
Well, sure. I was worried that I was going to have different feelings towards it.
My feelings towards it did not change. I was so happy with. So y'all, it's hard sometimes watching these older movies because, again, we are used to this crisp, clear HD, and we have the technology, and this does not do that. Yeah, the vehicles are old, but it's a desert. We're gonna have
Everything
some
was old
beaters.
there anyway.
But
so.
even then, yeah. So I mean, you go to a desert area now, and you're going to see beater trucks and stuff like that because that's what runs. So you're not pulled away from the time period. This literally, you could pick that whole world, that universe up and place it in 2025 and it would be the same.
And they were going to have cell phone reception anyway because it was an isolated valley.
Exactly. And the crispness of the film doesn't give you that foggy feeling of you're watching something from the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
It holds up. I think this movie still holds up.
Well, it holds up emotionally as well because one of the things I worried about is coming back to this and finding it to be horribly sexist, horribly racist, horribly something.
Yeah.
I found really none of that because even the one slight thing of Val's character at the first saying the things he wanted in a woman were really not about being sexist.
No.
Those were the vehicle for him to, throughout the film, redefine his misogyny into something that is a realistic expectation of women and a representation that follows along with reality.
And before we watched this, we did complain about Rhonda being in her underwear. But now watching it again, it makes sense. She was tangled up in barbed wire, and the only way to get her out was to take off her shoes and her pants. And then they ran into the general store, and as soon as he patched her up, they gave her shoes and pants.
Nothing was said.
Exactly.
No one
nobody
suggested anything to her. No one stared at her and ogled at her. He was sorry. He was hurting her, and that was all that was said.
Exactly. And her reaction was actually true because they didn't practice that on purpose, so that her reaction to having to take her pants off in front of Kevin Bacon, that was her facial expressions.
It was so well done. I like the whole sequence was well done because it did not focus on her not having pants.
No.
It focused on the danger being necessary to unclothe yourself.
When they showed her legs, they were cut up.
Right.
It wasn't like it didn't happen.
That attention to detail.
Yeah, she was bleeding. He was patching her up. And you can see behind his shoulder that Mr. Chang and Miguel were looking for sneakers and pants that would fit her. And as soon as they did, they brought it over to her. Nobody mentioned anything sexist, nothing about her being pantsless.
And Val didn't use it as a reason to hit on her.
No.
In fact, again, at the end, them assuming a relationship like that takes away from that.
I think so.
I honestly think that would have been better for him to find a friend than a lover.
Yeah.
And I really like...
Or even if in the future it became a relationship, go off as a friend.
Right. Yeah, but you're left for that assumption.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. And they should have been left to have that assumption.
You know, let me keep in touch. We need to, you know.
But I really liked the way that this was done. Nothing about this movie was gratuitous for the sake of being gratuitous.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, for the 90s, for 1990, this is such a well done and fun film.
So, when we were talking about doing this movie, I am not going to lie, my first thought was, it's not going to pass the Castellini. I think it will.
It may very well do it. Let's take a look at the Castellini test as I bring it over in my plastic wrap. So, there have to be at least 2 named women characters with at least 5 lines of dialogue each.
Okay, well, Reba's character's name is Heather Gummer, and Finn Carter's character's name is Rhonda Lebec. I don't know her. I didn't write her name down, but Charlotte Stewart's character did have a name. I just didn't write it down. So there were actually 3 characters, the female characters, Mindy, if you count the little girl.
They all had dialogue.
And they all had dialogue.
Did any of them have 5 lines of dialogue each? I think 3 of them did.
Yeah. Charlotte did. And obviously Reba and Rhonda, yeah.
Right. Those characters must have a conversation, not necessarily with the other woman, either not about their partner or with their partner, future or current, and not about their relationship.
Well, yeah, Reba and Michael Gross, they talk together about the issues of what's going on. And obviously Rhonda talks with Earl and Val and Miguel and Walter about what's going on and how to survive. And it's definitely more than 5 lines.
All of them. All the women, all the grown women had those conversations and not about relationships.
Yep.
At least one of the women has to be integral to the plot, meaning that if she were written out of the film, it couldn't reach the same ending.
Now, I'm not happy about saying this, but without Reba, yes. It could still have gone on without Reba. But it could not have gone on without Rhonda because she got those boys out of trouble so many times with the water.
But she also had the knowledge that she used. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she helped them out of situations.
Yeah.
She helped them survive.
They would not have survived the whole entire movie, I don't think, without her.
They wouldn't have gotten off the rock. She's the one that thought of the pole vaulting.
Oh, yeah, they wouldn't have gotten off the rock.
And let's just take it beyond those 3 rules, which they all pass the Castellini test. Mm-hmm. This does pass. But even in a sense of feminism, no woman, no man, no minority was treated.
Nobody was lesser.
Right. They were not treated any lesser than any of the white cishet men there.
Mm-hmm.
They were all treated with respect. They were all treated as human beings.
Even the dead guy on, because I'm under the impression that the old man on the tower, Edgar, was kind of like...
And I'm sorry, I keep thinking Men in Black whenever I hear someone say Edgar.
I think he is kind of like the town's either drunk but they still treated him with respect.
They brought his body down. They could have left it up there.
And they talked smack at him. They're like, come on, Edgar, come on down. Don't make me have to get up there and get you.
But when they realized he died, they treated him with respect.
But even then, what they were saying wasn't derogatory. They were just like, don't be a pain. But they weren't like, you piece of shit. They weren't doing that with him. They were respectful to him the whole entire time. So everybody in that movie was respected and was treated with equity.
This is a feminist film.
Fucking hell. Tremors is a feminist film.
Iconic film. It is a classic. I'm going to tell you right now, this is definitely one of my favorite films. I'm so glad it holds up. I'm so glad that this fun film that doesn't really need a lot of thought to watch is so thought-provoking when it needs to be. When you really look at it, all the details, all the things that happen, the simplistic nature of the plot belies this really deep underscore. It is beneath perfection, sure, but I think it maintains perfection at its core.
Yeah.
Oh, I did that really well.
Look at you. So, if you would like to watch this movie, you can watch it on YouTube with a subscription for free. If you have the subscription, you can watch it on Amazon Prime, Google Play, or Fandango at home. Usually you can rent it about $3.79, $3.99.
We hope your journey through perfection with us was satisfying, that you got to see a little bit of movie magic from 1990s. We're talking about Tremors, a monster horror comedy film. That's a mouthful. Starring Kevin Bacon and
Fred Ward.
I was gonna say.
And Finn Carter.
And Finn Carter,
She
yes.
should be up there with the, equally.
This has been Once More with Feelings with Beth and Michelle. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at OMWFPod. Visit our page at oncemorewithfeelings.podbean.com or send us an email at omwfpod@gmail.com. Take a moment to subscribe and rate us on iTunes and on YouTube.
So, starting something new, I'm going to give you guys a little hint of our next episode. And we have our next few episodes pretty much planned out. So it's the clue, and I want you guys to email us, message us, however you want to contact us, and see if you can guess what movie we're doing. This one might be a little bit more obvious than others, so I'll try to make it difficult going forward. But it is a 90s musical comedy directed by Baz Luhrmann. And that's it. So until next time, guys, be safe.
Bye.
Dumb shit. I was in a stampede once. 300 head going hell-bent for the horizon.
Now, exactly how many cows are required for a stampede, Earl? I mean, is it like 3 or more? Is there a minimum speed?
I wish I stampede up your ass.